Heads up, Palworld is still in early access, and as such I won't be delving too deep into the game, or at least not as much as in my usual videos. Thank y'all for understanding, and I hope you enjoy. June 2022. During a fairly average E3 season, a bunch of fun, interesting, and kinda garbage games were revealed. But the one that caught my interest the most was this very cutesy and colorful game with all kinds of creatures running around doing cute things, with all the human characters. Obviously, to me and anyone else viewing the footage, it seemed to be some sort of monster taming game with Pokemon-like elements. Which, hey, if you're unaware, I'm kind of a fan of, so of course I decided to give this cute little game my full, undivided Oh, what the fuck? Palworld. Man, wow. Okay, so let me start with saying that this is kind of a dream game for me. Ever since I saw the footage of a fan-made first-person shooter where the player got to take on Pokemon, including legendaries, with nothing but their own skills and a gun, I was entranced with how wildly fun such a game could be. No, really, I had no clue I'd be so down for such a horrifying concept. Like, one of the reasons I'm not super into the manga side of Pokemon is because of the violence and the death feeling so real and visceral. Like, sure, in the main stuff, death is, low-key everywhere, but the manga made it feel so real, and it really bothered my child self. I didn't really like seeing an Arbok chopped in half, or villains drowning to death, or whatever the fuck this was. It just always bothered me as a kid. But now I can sort of read or enjoy these stories for what they are. They certainly aren't bad or anything like that. But I never really, dived in because of all the realistic violence. And I just don't care for that in Pokemon. It was like watching Elmo getting jumped when he least expected it, which thankfully has never Oh god, no! God, can you tell this was written like months ago? Shit. Also, while we're talking about that shit, Elmo's dad is like a real bum, isn't he? If my 3-year-old son was getting jumped by a writer from Seinfeld, I'd like to think I'd do a little bit more than tell him, I gotta ask permission next time. No wonder this little shit lives alone. You can't take care of nothing. Where were we? You'd figured I'd hate seeing Pokemon getting shot by realistic guns if the realistic violence is what bothered me. But there is a huge difference between realistic violence and wacky cartoon bullshit. Imagining somebody pulling out a realistic gun to shoot Pikachu in the gut with is pretty damn loony. It's so unrealistic and stupid that it just snaps me out of that funk, and I can't help but laugh at the concept. Plus, it looks stupid fun. So when Palworld showed itself off, I was like all in, and unlike most other people who saw this, I didn't take it as a joke. I was super excited for this crazy shooter with Pokemon. The slave stuff was a little bit concerning though, but everything else looked great! Developed by Pocket Pair, a small indie company in Japan with a bit of a, let's say, interesting release lineup, which includes Craftopia, which, yeah, is exactly what it looks like, and this little AI art game in which you have to guess which player is using AI to make all their art. All Among Us imposter style, which I thought sounded really cool and maybe a really nice scathing critique of AI art as the theft-ridden dog shit that it is. But the game actually used a database full of art that it didn't own, which made the game more theft-ridden dog shit, which is very disappointing. You'd think this and Palworld being at least on the surface major critiques of such practices, the company would, also be against them as well. But, no. No, they're not. The head of the studio actually seems to be pretty for AI art, which gave me some major ick. I think that's how you say that. And I uninstalled the game. Though I did decide to then go on and do my own research into Palworld, especially to see if it even used AI art, and no. From what I've seen, it doesn't. A lot of the designs were heavily inspired, and I emphasize heavily inspired, by Pokemon. But they're not just straight rips or copies. If these were copyright infringing, you don't have to worry your sweet ass about it. Because Pokemon Company would kneecap a toddler in a heartbeat for using the nickname Pikachu. Not even as their like legal name, but like a nickname. They're fucking freaks. But yeah, these are all made in-house, and most of them are actually their own designs, so hey, for the people in the back, always remember, don't be so quick on the draw for controversy. If I've learned anything from my time online, it's that you shouldn't go into a fight cold. Which is to say, don't argue anything without all the proper context and knowledge behind it. This was a huge load of shit to begin with, and it was mostly perpetuated by people who hated on the game for like, let's just say, stupid reasons. Pocket Pair, for all their shortcomings, released an honest $30 game with no upcharging DLC, no season pass, no abuse allegations, and no AI art at all. Apparently, they just paid some kid a few grand to do all the models, which is as absurd as it is hilarious. But it's also honest. Though in the future, we have to be very careful with what we call AI art. It's becoming synonymous with bad, and that's dangerous. A lot of devs on Twitter went into great detail about how I call it Twitter, fuck you. Went into great detail about how Palworld is in many ways impressive, and claiming it to be AI will make a bunch of dipshits think they can just go shit out a game with it. Can you do that? Fuck no, but they'll try to, or at least they'll pump enough money into whatever scam is going around copying code from different databases, and then churning out these half-baked dog turds until they make something close enough. And since lawmakers are dreadfully slow to putting together some sort of limits to this shit, we ourselves have to be a lot smarter with how we handle it. But hey, this is about a video game, so let's save this horse shit for another time, or for somebody a lot more knowledgeable than me to speak on. The visuals of Palworld are honestly pretty good. A lot of the environmental work is well detailed. There's plenty of different environments strewn around the open world with all these crazy ruins and the like that kind of show like the crazy world building going on. You see, Palworld is a survival game with monster taming elements heavily inspired by, and I do stress heavily inspired, by games like Pokemon, Ark, Breath of the Wild. Palworld is an open world game where the player is sent right into the thick of it to try and figure out the best way to survive this hostile environment, which is also filled to the gills with these crazy dangerous creatures, ironically called pals, and the ones who abuse them, which, yeah, does include you. The slavery isn't an optional aspect of the gameplay, it is required. No matter how you want to play this game, making use of the pals to serve your every whim is required to get anywhere. These little shits need to do everything from gardening to sweatshop styled assembly lines for us to play this game to its fullest extent. Now, some would say this is awful for many reasons. Well, because it's slavery, it's just, they're not subtle about it. You know, these are called plantations, for God's sakes. Which, yeah, is kind of a problem. Not for the Pokemon slaves, or the visceral violence, or the fact I just spent 40 hours proving gets this right. All that's actually hilarious. No, my problem comes in with how boring the base building is. And by that, I do mostly mean the base building. I saw all the trailers for this game, and I thought we were gonna have this high-octaned, action-packed thrill ride, where I got assault rifles and shotguns fighting up a bunch of wild monsters, and yeah, you do that, but only like for, what, 20% of the game? The rest of the time, I'm in the base, building walls, beds, managing resources, building better machines to handle said resources, setting the right pals to take care of this and to optimize that, and then you... Oh, shit. That's so boring. Like, okay, don't get me wrong, I love me some Minecraft. but I was bored to tears by the survival game aspects and the open world. God, I am tired of these games. There's just too damn many of them. I wanted to shoot shit with my Gudra and then sell their guts and children to the black market, not farm. So what I ended up doing was just grinding my base up every level so I can get all the good stuff, while also building my walls so thick that nobody could raid the base, which didn't last long because they updated the game to make building outside of the base circle pointless. But hey, raids are also kind of pointless, so who cares? I only did 1 or 2 tower bosses. I just straight grinded, which took forever because the drop rate in this game is abnormally slow, like even for survival games. And I was playing on casual. Good lord, I can't stomach what this must have been on normal or god forbid hard. Now after grinding all my levels, getting my guns and all my pals, was the game worth it? Yeah. It kinda was. The different shooting weapons were fun, and you can't go wrong with a sword. The monster taming and the battling aspects were so cool, and I loved the different amount of abilities. And I thought the bosses and the general difficulty was fair and balanced, though in the late game it gets a little crazy. But again, this entire game wasn't the crazy ass action game I thought it was. But it was fine. It was pretty good even. And after trying out the latest DLC, you know, the one with the action-packed multiplayer and all the brand new content added to the game, I still kind of feel pretty on it. Which brings me to a question. Is my criticisms of Palworld fair? Like, yeah, some of it definitely is. The grinding is ridiculously slow. The new limits on base building was kind of bad in my opinion. I think the game overall could use at least 1 or 2 more quality of life improvements, though the updates and DLC have improved some aspects of that. But like, the game not being what I want it to be isn't necessarily a fair critique, especially because I was going into this expecting an action game, and what I got was Cobblemon with well, actually you can do Cobblemon with guns, but you get what I mean. I went into this game believing it was something that it wasn't, and I used that misjudgment to critique it unfairly in my mind. Though, in my defense, did any of you see this shit and think base management? I mean, sure, there was some of that in the trailers, but a lot of stuff in the trailers aren't even in the game. Again, this is early access, so maybe the game will improve and change in ways I'll find more fun, but I'm not gonna hold my breath on that. The game shouldn't change its identity because of me, especially since the Arc-like gameplay is what made it so amazing in other people's eyes. Though, speaking of people, the reaction surrounding this game has been fascinating. Mostly because the typical boycott stuff came far too late to be effective. Well, it's hardly ever effective. But a lot of the outbreak on Twitter, yeah, I just call it Twitter, I don't even know what's wrong with me anymore. But a lot of the outbreak of Twitter bickering came too late. The game sold and made its money by the time anyone gave a shit to object to it. Now, I was real excited for this game, as I said, so I was waiting with bated breath for it to come out. But everyone else must have thought it was just a joke and forgot it existed till it dropped. And the industry's heart skipped a beat, which thankfully it's been doing a lot recently. It's been getting a little boring. I'm glad this is happening. But fans of Pokemon were ravenous about how it was just a ripoff, while others who played the game knew that was far from the truth. Then AI allegations came up, and when they were shot down as some dipshit getting a little heated about things, it was truly wild. And now we have people claiming that Palworld is changing the industry in new ways, such as giving devs newfound confidence in their projects, or forcing major studios to really look at the games they were producing. They put guns in Palworld because they thought Americans would like it better. They were entirely right. I don't know what that says about the slavery, but they were right about the guns. Palworld was and will most likely continue to be a sort of anomaly in the industry for at least a while. And I think there is one last thing for me to say to cap off this video. They are never updating Craftopia again, bro. They really are just gonna have to leave that game in the dirt. And, you know, who knows? They might do that for Palworld 2 one day. But I doubt it. You and your fake bokoblins are just gonna have to jump ship to Palworld. Though, speaking of things they aped from Craftopia, why not that art style? It looks so damn good. And the realistic models clashing like in Palworld is hilarious. Though I ain't playing this shit, don't ask. I dropped Tears of the Kingdom because it was too similar to Breath of the Wild. I'm sorry, I can't do that twice. Here's where I talk about my team, but the only one of note was this dumbass Gudra. I got her as my starter after beating the shit out of it with a stick in the early game, which was really fun. Kind of like a Dark Souls boss. Hey, me and Dopey here worked it out. Also, I'm not gonna link the mods that I'm using in the description. I refuse to catch that bullet from the big N. If you want these mods, brother, you just gotta look them up online. What you gotta do is you gotta look through all the major modding websites and you just kinda have to like dig through them for a while. But you don't have to go into like any virus-ridden sites or any of that bullshit. If it looks scammy or it's being stupid and it's asking you for money, you're in too deep, you gotta get the fuck out of there before you get a blue screen. Son of a... Also, mods are really easy to install, so credit to Pocket Pair, they knew exactly what people would be doing with this game, so that's cool. God, this video has been so weird, and to be honest, I feel so weird. My favorite games are legit Breath of the Wild, Minecraft, Pokemon, Halo, and this game mixes all of that, and I don't like it. It's infuriating and weird to me. I don't know how to describe it. It's why I sound like a hyped up gremlin today. I just don't know what to do. Whatever, I guess that's just how it goes. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to support the channel in whatever way you feel comfortable doing. And next time, how about we head back to a few series that I've been needing to revisit. Or maybe we'll just do Dinosaur King. I'm not sure yet. I'm working through this series. The second season's kind of dumb. Anyway, love you all. Bye!